Terry Silver is in jail, and today we're going to hear from Cobra Kai legal experts about why he did nothing wrong and needs to be released immediately. I'm Ken Cole, and if you're a fan of Terry Silver and Cobra Kai, you're in the right place. On a recent live KenCast, we had a great discussion with Drew from Last Row Podcast and with Cobra Kai legal experts Badway and Mike from Cobra Kai Wisdom about why Terry Silver legally is not guilty of anything. You can watch the whole video right here, but right now I'm going to give you the highlights.
What did he actually do? Really, when you think about it, what did he actually do? What is the actual proof? And I don't think that there's much. So I guess he beat up Stingray, but Stingray took it. He allowed that to happen. So that to me was almost it was a consensual beatdown. I mean, I guess he framed his friend for murder potentially, but it was, again, related to the consensual beatdown. So I don't know that that actually made really a legal crime there. And then he paid off a referee, allegedly, right? We didn't see the exchange of money. We saw the conversation, but we didn't see the exchange of money. And then he also paid off the referee for the Seikai Taikai qualifier. But is that even an official event? I mean, that's just something that he hosted at his own dojo. Isn't he allowed to do whatever he wanted to do there? And then, they allegedly said that he burned down Mike's furniture store. I'm on the record of saying I think that that electrical system was pretty old and probably should have been checked out. I don't think that was something that was done on purpose. I mean, that was, who knows what happened there. And then, some would say that he paid off Stingray to keep quiet. Again, he accepted those gifts. Those were generous gifts from a sensei to his student. He allowed him to live in that nice apartment. He got him this really awesome car. What did he actually do that was illegal here?
Now, Badway, what are your thoughts?
First of all, I'd like to congratulate Drew for bringing up consensual beatdown. That's totally a legal term. And it's clearly what happened in that case. So I think we'll focus on Stingray first, and we'll go through these quickly. Stingray did agree to a consensual beatdown, even if it was after the fact while he was lying in the hospital bed. I mean, PS4s don't grow on trees, fellas. So it's a perfectly reasonable payment for a beatdown. Now, Mr. Stingray is very unreliable. It's clear that his opinions blow with the wind. So who can we trust there? And Mr. Silver's just an innocent man trying to teach kids karate. So it's unfortunate that Mr. Stingray didn't at first make the squad, quote unquote, and maybe he took it out on Mr. Kreese, and then Mr. Kreese took it too far. There's no proof, video evidence, I should say, that Mr. Silver had a hand in any of this. Some would say that there was video evidence and it was destroyed, but I mean, until you can provide said evidence, it's hearsay, fellows.
That's a private video system. You could do whatever you want with it, right? I mean, come on.
Right. If you want to talk about the bribery, I have two scenarios where the bribery could come into. First being unfair competition law of California. So the UCL states that a company may be accused of an unfair competition if its practices bait and switch marketing, manipulates prices, infringes on intellectual property, or performs another deceptive action against competitors that is prohibited under law. So there's that right there. Performs a deceptive action against competitors. Now, what is that? That is a misdemeanor, in which case he would owe, if found guilty, $2,500 per person acted upon.
Oh,
even if he were to be found guilty of that, he's just going to have it's just a Tuesday for him, fellas.
Yeah, this is a Tuesday.
Right, get the checkbook out and get this thing over with. Right now, there's also the commercial bribery law of California, which is Penal Code 641.3, which states that any law states that it is an offense when an employee takes a bribe from a person in exchange for using his or her employment position for the benefit of the other party. Now, this would be the interaction between him and the referee. So any business or practice which would cause an unfair as far as a competition goes, that is also a misdemeanor, punishable up to maximum 6 months in a non-state federal prison. So we're talking the slammer here. We're not talking the Fed. We're talking the slammer, in and out. I mean, Terry. This is the type of place where Terry could bribe a guard and get out. Before dinner. So,
Cobra Kai Wisdom says bad.
The bribery thing is cut down. We're done with the bribery. And in any way, once we get to court, whose word do we have? A girl who's of questionable merit and morality. She started a brawl in a mall
True.
and attacked a girl in a home.
They broke
In
into
her home.
LaRusso's home too.
Yes.
And the
So
school.
I mean, it's all hearsay. Again, the word hearsay comes up a lot, and it's all it is, because Terry's not a dumb man. He covers his tracks.
Terry's a model citizen. He was trying to help underprivileged students and underprivileged children, get educated, right? He was giving away free karate lessons. He wanted to spread the Cobra Kai ways and teachings to better younger, people of the Valley. How can you pin that on him? He's trying to help people out. I mean, come on, it's absolutely hearsay.
And there's 3 legal defenses against this, by the way. It's defense could argue no corrupt intent, potential entrapment, or just plain out be falsely accused. He could, in fact, argue no corrupt intent if maybe he gave a tip to the referees in both tournaments just to make sure that you pay extra close attention, make sure nobody gets hurt and everything's on the up and up, because he's afraid that the LaRussos are going to cheat.
Yeah. Okay, I think there was a comment about Daniel. He assaulted Daniel. That was on a piece of property that he owned. Daniel walked into that apartment that he was lending out to his good friend Stingray. That was his property. He was involved in that in his place. Doesn't he have a right to defend his property? Why is Daniel lurking in that place?
Glad you brought that up. Glad you brought that up, because California has what we call the Castle Doctrine. Penal Code 198.5 states that under this law, residents are presumed to have a reasonable fear of death or great bodily injury if an intruder, Daniel LaRusso, forcibly enters their home. Therefore, it may be deemed a justifiable homicide if the resident kills or injures the intruder in self-defense.
Wow.
So we got to remember the Castle Doctrine, fellas.
Yeah.
And this not only applies to his home, in which was also broken into by Chosen and Mr. Lawrence, but also Stingray's property, which is owned by Mr. Silver, and also the fact that, yes, as your commenters did state here, Daniel struck first.
Yeah, this is beautiful. And Badway, I can't say how much of a help you are right now. You're clarifying things for us, because it's very easy to get emotionally involved with these people, right? But you lose sight of the law, right? And it seems like you're saying the law says that really Daniel and his friends were in the wrong. Terry was in the right. He knows what he's doing, and he had good intentions.
Mr. Silver, I mean, he even has the right to use, to bear arms in this case. He's not even, there are no gunplay involved. He's just using the fists and the feet and swords. I mean, to be honest, the swords, just to combat the risk of his life and the life of his guests in his home. This is a clear case of self-defense. Not to mention the trespass that happened on his dojo, which he then sprinted over to help his poor children students, whose lives were also in danger.
Because we didn't even get into those. I mean, we have to talk about what happened against him too. I don't want to jump the gun, but there's plenty that happened there against him. I mean, he's the victim here, if I'm being honest.
Can Mr. Silver be a little immoral sometimes? Sure. I mean, we can all say that, right? We love Mr. Silver, but he can be a little moral at times. But when it comes to, in a court of law, proving guilt on a crime, it's hard to pin this guy down. Let's be honest. I mean, he's got the best lawyers money can buy. He knows the law. He covers his bases. The man's not dumb, and he doesn't act on emotion either. Very calculated.
Yes. This is amazing. Yes, everyone who's a fan of Cobra Kai needs to be listening to this right now. I hope they're tuning in, or you're watching on the replay. You have to listen to this, because Badway speaks the truth. In my opinion, he speaks the truth. Yeah. And you haven't been paid off in any way, Badway.
No, sir. No Terry Bucks over here. My palatial estate speaks for itself from all my clients. My Castle Doctrine.
We have yet another person who might have an opinion that is going to join us. Cobra Kai Wisdom. Badway, you're welcome to stay, or if you got to go, I understand as well.
Unfortunately, I have other clients to tend to. I just wanted to bring light to this subject. I appreciate you bringing me on here to shed some light, and the legal expert that follows, I'm sure will more than generously take my place.
This is Mike, Cobra Kai Wisdom. Mike, thank you so much for joining us today. Now, you've caught us in a very deep legal discussion, and as I understand, you have a legal background yourself.
I do, yes. Let me give you my little speech first. I am not California barred. I'm not a criminal lawyer. Nothing I say tonight can be construed as actual legal advice.
And I know that if Terry were to hire you, you know, you'd give more specific advice. You're just giving just general thoughts tonight.
Absolutely. And we got to focus on what type of charge are we dealing with here? What is he actually going to be charged with? And how do we set our man free? Because that's the goal here. That's what we're putting our heads together to accomplish. According to the detective, all the charges against Terry Silver stem from Mr. Porter's testimony, his changed testimony, or his changed statement, that being one Stingray. So based on that, it appears we're talking purely about the crimes committed against Mr. Stingray here. So while there may be some other allegations that, of course, are going to come down the road, people all of a sudden say, oh, yeah, he did this to me, too. He cheated me. He assaulted me. It's going to be one of those, oh, well, where have you been all this time? You're saying he did this to you 35 years ago. He did this to you a month ago, and you never said anything until the brave Mr. Stingray comes, and now you're just trying to hop on the bandwagon. We've got a litany of charges, according to this detective. I can't fathom what this litany is, because it was just one night, one alleged incident, and it is what it is. So we've got a potential battery, allegations of a battery, which is a willful touching of another. You put your hands on another person, you have committed a battery. When we're talking about a battery that could rise to the level of a felony, in California, it's a battery that is not committed in self-defense, obviously, and results in a serious injury, fractured bones, damaged internal organs, near-death hospitalization, that type of thing. With all that said, and this surprised me, I just looked this up. The max penalty for a felony battery is only 2 to 4 years. So there's your California law for you. That all this, he could be just 4 summers at vacation prison, and Terry Silver's back in the dojo. That's it. That's the worst case scenario. That's what we're inclined to try to prevent. It is possible some young DA who's not familiar with the history of the relationship between the Silver family and the DA's office, probably never heard of a Willie Cole, might try to push this over to the level of an attempted murder, perhaps, that he was trying to kill Mr. Stingray, that he put him in the hospital, left him for dead. Ironically, the actual truth to the situation would be a defense to that when you're talking an attempted murder, the key is attempt, that you were trying to kill someone, but for some unforeseen circumstance outside of your control, you failed in your task. You wanted to kill him, but something prevented you from succeeding. The truth of what happened that night is a defense to attempted murder, which sounds insane. He did not want to kill Stingray. He needed Stingray. He very much needed Stingray to live through this ordeal so that he could blame Kreese, and Kreese would go to prison, get out of the way, and Terry Silver takes over the valley. So it's a risky move. But if they're inclined to go, well, you tried to kill the Stingray route, he comes up with the truth and say, no, I beat the ever-living shit out of him, but I didn't want to kill him. I needed him. I needed him to live so that he could wake up and tell the detective it was Sensei John Kreese, which is, in fact, the truth. So there goes your attempted murder. Now, in terms of defending against battery, we got a few possibilities here. Drew, I don't know if you were kidding earlier, but actually consent is a defense to battery.
Absolutely. I was dead serious.
Yes. So, yes, a person, I can go up and say, may I punch you in the face? And if the person responds, yes, you may. And you clarify, okay, but just so you know, I may break your jaw. I may cause broken teeth. I may cause serious injury. With that in mind, may I still punch you in the face? Absolutely, Mike. Please do. That is consent. You have consented to a battery, and that is a defense to the crime of battery. So that's one possibility. So the argument is there that, well, maybe, yeah, I punched him once or twice, and he was fine. which would be, a misdemeanor, couple $100, no jail time. He's a first offender. He's never been in jail in his life. But after that, that's when we made the deal. May I continue to do this so that we can form this plan? You want to be in Cobra Kai? Here's the deal. I'm going to now wail on you, and you're going to blame John Kreese. Is that agreeable to you? He nods his head, says yes, and that's what happened. There's your defense to a felony. Wow. Consent. He consented to the thing. One or two punches, sure. After that, it was all part of the act, all part of the game. He was in on it the whole time. Couple other things. Accident. We could say it was all an accident. Stingray is the biggest klutz you've ever seen. We get all the other students say, oh yeah, he's total klutz. Terry Silver probably just, was training him, and, he fell on his face. That old Stingray is such a goof.
That's a good
it's another possibility. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if Terry Silver tried a self-defense route. That, Stingray comes in all hot and aggressive. He's been rejected from Cobra Kai, his home, and Kreese isn't there, so he takes it out on poor little Terry Silver, who was all by himself and was totally unprepared. And Stingray struck first. It was all him, this pillar of the community, similar to what he does to Daniel in season 5, faking pretend to be an old man. And if none of that works, and Silver is still trying to come up with some defense, and he may not want to go there, but he can start going the route of his possible PTSD. Assault is it's what's called a specific intent. You have to not just prove that it happened, you have to prove the intent behind it. And if he can show that he did not act willfully, that he was not in control of his faculties at that moment in time, and bring in all kinds of psychologists and expert witnesses talking about his trauma from Vietnam, and John Kreese coming back into his life and him going off his medication. He was doing so well, and then Kreese comes back and bullies him, and he was off his meds. It's a possibility he could raise some diminished capacity, that he really wasn't in control that night, which could either get the charge completely off or get it reduced to show that he really was not in control that night. So a lot of possible defenses to work with. And then, of course, as my predecessor mentioned, we've got one witness in this whole case. One witness, Stingray Porter. Any defense attorney worth his salt is going to attack the hell out of this man's credibility, which probably should have been done in the first place at the first trial against John Kreese. But you've got this guy who woke up in a hospital bed, and his immediate reaction, as messed up in the head as he was to say John Kreese. That was his first reaction. John Kreese did this to me. He could barely move, but he was able to say it was John Kreese. He wouldn't do that unless it was the truth. He let this man go to prison, rot in prison. The same man who I understand has since escaped from prison. That guy, that's the guy who you initially, and then all of a sudden you change your mind and now say, no, it was this other sensei, Terry Silver, who you didn't even know, and who didn't even know you. They had no history together. They'd never spoken a word to each other at this point. And now all of a sudden you're switching gears because you found out John Kreese escaped from prison and is probably going to be mad at you. So you changed your story and instead, focused your attention on this pillar of the community, Terry Silver, who's been nothing but kind to you. You're just going to attack this man's credibility. You're going to bring in, his old neighbor to talk about what, his neighbor at his sister's house, what a loser he was when he was on probation. How this guy had recently been on probation for beating up a bunch of kids in a school and lied about, being a security guard to sneak into a high school and then beat the shit out of a bunch of kids. This is your star witness against Terry Silver. And the fact that, even before that, he's just this big man baby who went to a dojo and trained with a bunch of teenagers, this 40-year-old man. And this is your star witness who's saying who assaulted him. It's not going to add up. And, the goal here is to prove to a jury that this crime did not occur beyond a reasonable doubt.
So, Drew, let me throw this to you. You have just heard just an amazing wall of legal wisdom from Cobra Kai Wisdom we
Cobra
have
Kai
here,
Wisdom.
and then Badway as well. What is your reaction after listening to all this?
I think that Terry is innocent, and I feel like all the wrongdoings were actually against him, and he was provoked into some of these situations. He was minding his own business. He was just trying to spread his karate across the valley, and Daniel got up in his business, and Daniel was the one that inserted himself and had to be this white knight to say, "I've got to stop this guy." Stop him from what? I don't think he did anything wrong, and I think, Mike, you nailed it. I think Badway nailed it too. I think Terry's innocent, and I think we need to get him out of jail right now.
So as you can see, Terry Silver being arrested is a serious legal injustice. This is why I'm starting a movement to save Silver. If enough of us band together, we can see that true justice is done and Terry Silver is released from prison as soon as possible. Be sure to use hashtag #SaveSilver on social media to show your support for our immortal Cobra Kai Sensei. Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you enjoy this video, go ahead and hit like and subscribe so we can reach our goal of 25,000 subscribers. And if you're a fan of Terry Silver and Cobra Kai, the next thing you should watch is Cobra Cole. See you next time.